Hello. Hi. I'm gonna need you to buckle in right now because we're continuing where we left off. My mom sent me some old home videos for my birthday. I've been running for my life. What I found has horrified me because the family that I used to call family is not what it seems. And now we've reached the showdown at the quintessential point. So, it all ends with me dying. Not literally, of course, but not figuratively either. Philosophically, maybe? How did we get here? How does a simple home video lead to so much violence, death, and the utter dismantlement of my perceived reality? I guess that's why you're here to figure out. Justin kept trying to call me, kept sending me messages, but I was still in no condition to respond. I'm not sure if you caught on to this, but my mental state can sometimes be described as rather flimsy. When facing distress, I have the slight tendency to fall into bottomless pits of anxiety, everything negative, you name it. Except for petting my fat cat named Dave. So that's what I did for half an hour straight, just stroking his silky feline exterior, the shiny orange fursuit that could have been covered with stains of patchy blood. Well, that was because I was in a pretty banged up state myself. I still hadn't found time to clean up. Where could I clean up? My bathtub, and my extension of my shower, and the remains of my mom. Well, my adoptive mom. And I felt no inclination towards dealing with that mess. New texts from Justin just kept pouring in. Justin was my brother. And at some point, they were too frequent for me to ignore. I scrolled down the near endless list of capitalized profanity and hatefulness, focused on the latter five. These last five messages just became infinitely more disturbing. The first message: "Come see me at Grandpa's cabin, Jeffy." The second message: "Come alone if you want the boy to live." The third message: "You don't want it to happen again, do you?" The fourth message: "You don't want more blood on your hands." And then the fifth message: "Be seeing you soon." There was a lot that I didn't understand, and there was a lot I didn't want to understand. I could feel them locked away deep in my mind, a resurgence of memories pushing away, and it was like a push and a pull, just onwards, you know. I couldn't let them free. No chance in hell. There was no way I was going back to that place. Padded cells, padded mind. I hadn't been to that cabin for ages, especially after Grandpa died. But it was quite a ways out, and I knew I didn't have the time nor energy to dare go on foot. Luckily, my neighbor's kid had an old moped parked haphazardly in the middle of the street, and those suckers can be hot wired with a single turn of a screwdriver. So without hesitation, I stuffed Dave underneath my jacket, and we went off. We were on the road for maybe 3 to 4 hours, maybe, and I had to stop to refill the ridiculously small tank 3 times over. Dave kept us calm. I love that cat. And we headed up the bumpy road to the quintessential point where Grandpa's old cabin could be found. I had to ditch the moped about halfway there, so I let Dave run free as we hiked the last couple of miles by foot. The cabin was an eyesore. It was always an eyesore. Grandpa had fought tooth and nail to keep the property after certain incidents of federal nature forced him into hiding for a couple of years. Well, it was at that quintessential point, you know. And there was a vertical drop of maybe 30 feet just on the other side of the ramshackle railings of the balcony. I felt a cold, chill run down my spine as I spotted the silhouette of Justin in the window. I had no plan and I had no idea what to expect. The Justin I knew was gone, replaced by a violent psychopath harboring unknown motives. I picked up the loitering Dave and knocked exactly 3 times on the door. "Jeffy," he said, smiling warmingly as he opened the door. "I'm so glad you could make it." He seemed flustered, but otherwise in fine shape. A warm glow pulsated from the stove behind him, illuminating worn-down furniture and faded walls. As he beckoned for me to enter, and I heard a soft, muffled cry. Is that Jenna's, baby?" I said. "Indeed," he grinned. "He's alright, don't worry. Fed him some formula. Now he's just all happy as... Jesus. He's so happy he's as stiff at a funeral." "Come in, Jeffy. Sit down. We have much to discuss." I sauntered into the living room, nervously scanning the interior, and nothing had changed. It was still the same old tacky crap hole. I sat down in Grandpa's old rocking chair, placing Dave in my lap, desperately trying to identify where he kept the baby. Justin gave me a brutal pat on the back and sat down on the couch opposite of me. "Jeffy, Jeffy, Jeffy. What are we going to do with you, Jeffy?" "I don't even know why I'm here, Justin," I said while gazing around the room. "But I suppose you're about to tell me." "Sure. You definitely do." "Sure, Jeffy. Sure you do. You know I killed Mom, and I know you killed Dad. We're the same now. Matricide and patricide, all aside. We used to be so close, remember?" I did remember. He always looked after me, kept me safe. I guess that's what made all of this so hard to understand. I've never seen this side of him before, and I was convinced I knew him intricately. "But you don't remember, why do you?" He leaned forward, eyes flickering left to right erratically. "Why I had to be nice to you?" What do you mean?" I muttered. "Oh boy, I knew they did a number on you over at the institution, but I never realized it was this bad," he said while rolling his eyes. "You're the reason they stopped, you know. Poor Jeffy couldn't handle it. But they never considered what I could handle or not, did they? No, they messed me up good, Jeffy. And they didn't even care." "I don't understand. How did they mess you up?" "What couldn't I handle?" "Well, the murdering, of course," he laughed, slapping his thigh. "Oh, they enjoyed their depravity, didn't they? The fuckier the better. Put poor Jeffy in a bathtub full of blood. Make Justin cut all the organs. Force feed them both pieces of the victim. What a family. No wonder you lost it eventually." Then the memories came back. All the screams, rivers of blood, the leathery texture of an undercooked kidney, a knife in my hand, and an old, ugly, heinous face. Grandpa was the worst of the lot, truth be told. I think they were happy when you slaughtered him. That's when they stopped. That's when they sent you to that place. I still don't remember. "No, you don't, do you?" he said coldly. "They couldn't get you to talk for months, and when you finally did, you couldn't remember anything. Just kept mumbling the same name over and over." I stared at my cat Dave because that's what Justin said. All that I kept saying, "Dave, Dave, Dave." He stared back. Dave, that fat cat, purring contently. "What do you mean? What Dave? Did I know a Dave back then? Is that why I instantly named my cat Dave?" "There is no cat, Jeffy. There is no cat. Think about it, for God's sake. How long have you had him now? 30 years. That's some old-ass cat you got there." No, I stammered. You're wrong, Justin. He's right there. I can see him. I can feel him. For fuck's sake, I don't care. Justin stood up and calmly walked towards the kitchen cabinet. Keep your imaginary friend. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't fucking matter. In fact, it will make this whole thing a lot easier to sell. He opened one of the cabinets, the one at the very top, and suddenly the muffled cries became louder. You see, I want to start my own family, he said, carefully lifting down the baby boy, but I need a demon in the hurricane. What the hell does that mean? I said. I do not understand. Oh, surely you remember. It was Grandpa's family mantra. We cannot move lest we leave a demon behind in the hurricane. It's an overly pompous way of saying we always need a scapegoat. I mean, think about it. How do you suppose they got away with all those murders, The only reason they did it is because they constantly set up some poor schmuck to take the fall. And am I your demon? I said to him. Look, I didn't plan for it to end all this way. I just wanted you dead, Jeffy, that's all. That's why I swapped out Mom's birthday presents with those tapes. I was so sure they were going to kill you for that. He gently rocked the baby, back and forth, humming a beautiful tune. But here's the kicker, Jeffy. They weren't even going to hurt you, not initially anyway. Mom just wanted Dad to bring you here, to keep you safe, to calm you down. So, I lost it. Fucking killed her. Why do you want me dead? What have I ever done to you? I said, tears rapidly forming from my eyes. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I really thought I'd reached the bottom of the rabbit hole, but Jesus, there's more. Nothing personal, bud. Just wanted them to feel pain. They really loved you, Jeffy. Can't for the life of me understood why, but they did. Me? Not so much. I guess I reminded them too much of Grandpa, or perhaps themselves. Jenna's baby, on the other hand, definitely made me change my mind, though. When Mom brought her over to try to convince you to come back, I instantly knew what I wanted all these years. Someone to love. Someone to love me back, unconditionally. Someone to shape. Someone to mold into a better, more capable me. I let my fingers run through Dave's soft fur. I need his calming guidance for now. Dave's always been there for me, always had my back. And he's always kept me on the straight and narrow. So, what now? I asked, eyeing the open window just behind the couch. Oh, he said, placing the baby back in the cabinet and closing the door. You still have to die, Jeffy. Just need to look, suicide-y. Oh boy, I said. That's all I need from my demon, he said. He grabbed a knife from the kitchen counter and edged closer to me. There was this look on his face, a very familiar expression I'd seen before. Once I remembered, but probably continued countless times over. A look of hate, murderous violence, and the intent to go behind it. The exact look I saw on my mother's face when she butchered those poor people in the video. Give me your wrist, Jeffy, he snarled. No reason to make this more painful than it has to be. I got up from my rocking chair, backing up slowly, Dave firmly in my grasp. I knew I only had one shot at this, so I positioned myself just right. When Justin edged past the rocking chair back to the couch, I made my move. I quickly put Dave on the ground, pointing at Justin. Get him, Dave, I yelled. Fuck him up. We rushed at Justin in unison, and when he, wide-eyed with surprise and shock, stuck the knife brutally into my shoulder, I quickly jerked sideways, breaking the blade off at the grip. Sure, there was pain involved, but I've been through worse. With a continuous motion, I elbowed him in the groin and watched in awe as Dave fucked up his face. That cat had some unreal moves, let me tell you. Justin stumbled back, and when he clumsily hit the couch, I charged at him with what little of my stamina, sending him through the open window, shattering a glass, a whole lot of blood, and horrible screams, as Justin and Dave rolled around, slipping under the ramshackle railing, suddenly free-falling to 30 feet down to the jagged rock foundation below. I heard a sound I can't accurately describe, but I'm often reminded of a butcher working with meat. Squishy, metal sounds. Squishy, meaty sounds. I collapsed on the floor, desperately heaving for my breath. Would have passed on the spot if it wasn't for the muffled crying coming from the cabinet. I stumbled to my feet, gently lifting him down. The baby, I mean. He felt a lot like Dave. Same weight, different texture, though. I sat down on the couch and momentarily lost in those bright blue peepers of his. Maybe I wanted my own family, too. Maybe Justin could be my demon in the hurricane, but no, I wasn't them. I wasn't Grandpa, Mom, or Dad, or even Justin. So I called the police, this time more than able to string the correct words together, describing in vivid detail everything from start to finish, from home videos to the shattered remains of Justin. I felt good, I felt free. But there was also sadness, I suppose, a loss of sorts. Poor Dave. So you see, it ends with my death. Not philosophically either, mentally perhaps, personal. A new me. The police came to believe me eventually, although it took a few days of long, strenuous interrogations to get everything sorted. A lot of details to be uncovered, things from my childhood I just couldn't remember. They mentioned something though, something you lot might find comforting. On the second day of the interview, the lead detective asked me about Justin, about the struggle, about his remains. There were some marks, wounds, we can't account for. On the suspect's face, looks a hell of a lot like something clawed him, scratched him up real good. Of course it looked like that, I thought, stroking Dave's perfectly soft fur lovingly. Of course it looked like that. Well, and that concludes our story. Well, wouldn't you say that's a birthday for the ages to remember? Just to sweeten the cake, I'll read one more story, then that will be it. The title is, I'm a hitman, but I'm not allowed to kill my next target. Michael Zinski wasn't my usual type of client. He wasn't a spurned lover looking for revenge or a murderer, looking to snuff out the witnesses to his crime, or a husband hungry for his wife's insurance policy. He was just an ordinary guy looking out for his sister. I really wouldn't normally resort to such drastic measures, but Harold has become so awful. Treats her like garbage, doesn't give a rat's ass about her. Or anything. Except for that stupid band he sings in with his work buddies. He blew his nose loudly. You understand that? Right, Switchblade? I winced. That's just my alias, Michael. You shouldn't, actually call me that in casual conversation. Well, what should I call you? I blinked. Clearly he had never done anything like this before. Do you have the cash? His eyes darted around the diner. Then from his pocket he pulled out a wad of $100 bills. You can't just... They'll see it. I hastily threw him one of the napkins. Wrap it up in that. And do it discreetly. He wasn't discreet whatsoever, but thankfully the diner was nearly empty. Especially at this hour. It's twice your usual rate, he whispered very loudly. I wanted to give you a big tip so you'll do a good job. A tip? You're not ordering an ice cream cone, Michael. You're ordering a hit. But I took the cash, smiled, and buried it deep in my pocket. And I don't want you to kill him. What? Michael, you do know I'm a hitman, right? Yes, but Nancy needs his income. She's been a housewife for the past 20 years. No work experience, no education past high school. There's no way she could support herself on her own. You could support her, dude, with the cash you just gave me. He shook his head. I've tried. She won't let me. Cares too much, you know. I sighed. Well, okay, suppose I did take you up on this job. What do you even want me to do if not kill him? I don't know. Just scare him, threaten him. Just make him stop being so terrible to her. But it's risky business. I mean, he'll know what I look like, and you'll go on Sunday morning. He'll be napping alone in his house. Won't even see you come in, Michael. He, Michael then decided to look down at the table, and it took me aback. And then he added, it's the only time he's ever alone in the house. The only time he lets her leave. My belligerence evaporated, and I felt a pang of sympathy. Is that bad? He nodded. Okay, I'm in. The house was a tiny thing. Shoved into the gap was a massive brownstone and a dilapidated food mart. It would be a challenge to do it without any witnesses. But good, I'd like a challenge. I snuck through the backyard, creatively using the various bushes to hide from onlookers, and I then stepped into the open window like Michael told me to. The knife was heavy in my hands. I turned left at the kitchen and crept into the living room. In the center stood a microphone, a music stand, and some sheet music, presumably for Harold and his band. Nancy's needlepoint supplies were pushed into the corner, taking up as little space as they could. I walked into the next room, and there, in the armchair, stood Harold. Well, sat, really. Fast asleep he was. I retrieved the chloroform from my pocket. With the glare of a dancer, I laid it against his nose, and then I went to work. I visited Nancy myself a few weeks later. I like to do that sometimes, pose as a friendly neighbor, see how their lives have changed in the wake of my work. Yes, I know it increases my chances of getting caught, but I like the challenge. When she flung open the door, her eyes were bright, and she wore a smile. Hi, I'm Smith Baker, I said. Just moved here a few houses away from you, behind the food mart. Oh, how nice. Please, come in. She led me into the living room, and I smiled. The music stand and all the other stuff were just haphazardly in a corner. Nancy's needlepoint was sprawled across the sofa, taking up as much space as he could. Smith, this is my husband, Harold. He stared at me, still, silent, and pale. And then he started shaking violently, clawing at the red, raw mark across his throat. Sorry, I should explain. She sat down with a smile. He's not trying to be rude, it's just we had an accident a few weeks ago, and now he can't speak, I'm afraid. She patted his arm comfortably as he clung to her. Or sing, unfortunately. Took me aback. An accident that mysteriously cut his vocal cords and left the rest of him untouched. I could see Harold's hands shaking, his lip trembling. I wonder if he was thinking about the first thing I said to him when the chloroform wore off. If you don't treat Nancy right, your throat will be next. And next time, you'll lose more than just your voice. I smiled at Harold. Would you like a cookie? I asked, holding out the tray. I baked them myself. Well, you don't have to be that type of guy that would, you know. But there are some fates, there are some things much, much worse than death. I think this was pretty sweet. It's wholesome. Messed up, but wholesome. Well, seems like the jerk's voice cords are gone. Well, as I said, this was mainly supposed to be a follow-up video, but let's have a little bit of fun now while we can. earlier while I was on stream, as some of y'all have been there, I heard a noise within, especially towards my right, through the window. The gate opened, and it put me on high alert. Just remember, you can still be within the safe confines of your home and nothing can feel right. Maybe it was a cat, maybe it was a person, but hopefully and thankfully nothing happened and will continue to happen. Well, without further ado, I really do hope you have a fantastic day, night, or whatever it is for you. And I hope you can also sleep tight right before the morning light comes in. Well, this is your host, Grim or Jay, heading off. Please have a wonderful night.